All right, welcome everybody to the Up North, podcast. It's a little side project we've been working on for a bit. I've got Neal joining me today. Kyler, how are you?
I am good. I just got off work about, 10 minutes ago. Finally got home, had to mess with the dogs, pour myself a few beers. And yeah, now I'm chatting with you. So, I'm still happy over our dubs yesterday. So there we go.
Right, it's a good day, and it's like I was just golfing with a Montana Grizzly, so it's like got me in the Big Sky mood. So what
Gross.
we're gonna be doing is we're launching this new little show. We are missing a co-host. You might hear Kyler's dogs in the background. We didn't want to feel so alone, so we invited them to join us today as well. So in
For
case you
sure.
guys hear dog noises, that's what it is. We'll let the third co-host, I guess, be a surprise because they'll probably come on when we do later ones. But we're going to start it off with some team previews in the Big Sky Conference, starting with, I believe I chose the media poll and going backwards. It's kind of funny how we do this now. We've got this FCS Fans Nation Network, which if this is your first time hearing about it, subscribe, like the video. But we're basically like ESPN now, where we all just like rotate around like a bunch of shows.
That's what it is. And you've been busy this off season. You've been on
Well,
everyone's show.
yeah, other people's shows, but I love, dude. After 4th of July, I'm switch is on to football.
There
So
you go. You're the face of the FCS. Who would have thought? This guy who hated the FCS only knew about us because of Vernon Adams in North Dakota State and Montana. He hated us. He thought, the FCS was just a cakewalk. He said these bums in this lower D2 division will never compete with Idaho in 2018. Now look at you, the face of the FCS.
yeah, I did think Idaho would be good in 2018. That is correct. The rest of that was exaggerative, but you are correct. In 2018, I've loved the FCS. I just thought Idaho would be instantly competitive. But speaking of Idaho, let's start it off with the bottom of the media poll ranking and the Idaho State Bengals.
Oof.
Yeah, we'll take a quick look at their 2021 season. As you can see, they went 1-10 overall, 1-7 in the Big Sky. They started 1-4, but ended 0-6. And I guess the only notable takeaway from the season was they fired Rob Fennessy to hire Charlie Ragle. Mm-hmm. So, Kyler, real quick, what are kind of your takes before we get into the coach specific? Any takeaways that Idaho State should be taking away from the 2021 season?
I mean, the major takeaway is good riddance. Don't look back at that 2021 season. Just throw that behind you. Start focusing on the future. You got a new coach, which I said you said we'll talk about in a little bit. They're renovating Holt Arena, so they're getting rid of, I believe, all of those different colorful sections of chairs. It's going to be red and black from what I've seen, or orange and black from what I've seen. Yeah, go Eastern. Orange and black from what I've seen, and it's going to make Holt Arena look pretty sweet from the inside. So, they're trying to do some big things to elevate the program moving forward. So, yeah, the one thing I would say is a takeaway. Don't take away anything from 2021, Idaho State. Build on what you're trying to accomplish. Try and be that number one team in Idaho and work your way forward. You got some talent coming back at, quarterback. But it was a pretty tough season last year. I mean, overall, they had one amazing win. I still don't know how they beat UC Davis. I don't understand that, especially when you look at the rest of the schedule. Ouch. So, but hey, you beat a top 25 playoff caliber team, which means you have the talent overall to compete. Just try and put a couple games together, and maybe 2022 will be a little more successful for you.
Yeah, that's kind of one of my big takeaways too with Idaho State is just move forward. I mean, new coach. Just there's a lot of energy, I think, back behind the program with the way they're renovating their stadium. I think Pauline Theros is a underrated AD at the Big Sky level. I think she has aspirations to make them something. So I think with the stadium renovation and a new coaching hire, there should be some positives for Idaho State in the immediate future. So they just got to kind of hang in there and I guess wait for those to happen. But we touched on it. Charlie Ragle gets hired as it was formerly the special teams coordinator at Cal. This is about intercollegiate athletics. So we're gonna give out our professor hats here, Kyler, and we're gonna be giving the Charlie Ragle hire a grade.
Am I starting it?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, okay.
I come up with the segments, which means I get to go second.
Fair enough. I'm gonna give it a C+. The main reason why I'm gonna give it a C+ and not anything higher, he still needs to prove himself, right? Super successful as a head coach in the high school rankings, but that tends to happen. I think he didn't even lose 10 total games, and he won dang near 70. So he was extremely well sought after in the high school. He was out in Arizona from what I remember. I don't remember if it was Chandler or Chaparral, but he was head coach there for a little bit. And then, he was jumped around with two not great Pac-12 teams. They're currently Pac-10 teams, if you will, but Arizona and then Cal. I don't really recall too much on the Cal special team side, right? So I don't know if they were absolutely murdering it, but I know Cal kind of sucks in general. So it's one of those things. At least he's got a West Coast vibe. He can probably recruit really well out of California and Arizona, which all of us Big Sky teams should be recruiting out of California and Arizona. They're two giant markets, right? Yes. You have really the four major markets. California in order. Then I would probably say Washington is up there at number 2. Then Arizona, probably 3. Nevada and Utah, that 4 spot. Whichever one you could probably flip. They're both extremely talented. So having connections in Arizona, having connections in California, knowing the market there, that's only going to benefit Idaho State. So I like the hire in terms of brand new coach, probably not a lot of expectations. He could be an excellent A+ hire. He could be a failure. I do not know, but I like at least the connections. I like how he is a West Coast guy through and through. He's never even been on the East Coast, right? His whole experience has been West Coast. And when you're in the West Coast in the FCS, you need some of that local talent. So I think overall it's probably better than Fennessy. But I'm not willing to give it anything more than a C+ because it still needs to be proven that he's an actual solid head coach at the collegiate level.
Because Fennessy was interesting, right? Because he came from the Montana system. And I think rightfully so, that deserves its own plaudits. But I agree with you in the sense that Idaho State isn't Montana, though. If anything, it is closer to a high school level than Montana. I'm not trying to, take digs at Idaho State here, but currently, at least, it's going to be similar to that. I think that's maybe what Mr. Fennessy found out was he was expecting it to be like Montana, turnkey, and it wasn't. I think Charlie Ragle's used to that. And I think you're right. Having connections in the state of California and Arizona are going to be huge in terms of recruiting. I know some of the best recruits that the Big Sky has gotten the last couple seasons have come out of, like you mentioned, Washington, Arizona, and California. So having 2 of those in your pocket, and you're going to have to build inroads in Washington, but that's what assistant coaches are for too. It's not all on him. I guess is what's kind of unfair too when you grade these things is you got to take the staff as a whole into consideration sometimes. Something we'll touch on here soon, but I give it a C. I would just say it probably could have been better. I think Idaho State didn't have to take the risk that they did, I guess, on hiring a special teams coordinator who's really only has high school experience. But that said, I think if they were to hire that in that route, Charlie Ragle was a great get from them from that pool of coaches.
And I'm always a fan of hiring internally if you already have a well-oiled machine, established program, right? Because you don't want the wheels to fall off. Idaho State was not a well-oiled machine. As we have seen throughout since I've been a Big Sky fan. They've been pretty bad overall. They had a solid season, but a solid season for them is 5-6. Where, we talk about a lot of good programs. A bad season for them is 6-5. A really good positive season for Idaho State right now is 5-6. So I do like how they went out of their current, in-house coaching carousel. It's something that you need to change their culture. And at least this guy's been with the 2 big FBS programs to where he knows how a system should be run. Now, were they successful programs? No. But like I said, what's the expectation of Idaho State year 1 with this new head coach? I don't think it's Big Sky. caliber, championships. I think year one expectations are rebuild, completely gut what we have, start from scratch, see what you can do in 4 years. And why not give this dude an opportunity who is a special teams coach, who's been around, who is a really successful head coach at the high
Not
school
old,
level.
not young.
Yeah.
But like he's like that perfect range of experience.
Yeah, exactly.
If Charlie Ragle is gone in 5 years due to success, like you said, the internal hire is probably Byron Howard. That's the only, I think, holdover from the previous staff. Young dude from Idaho. So, I mean, they kind of, like you said, have that natural built-in ladder for the next guy.
Right.
So, all in all, I think it was good. I agree with you. Like, we'll get into more of their schedule here and win-loss predictions. But, yeah, they probably should be more expecting a 1-10 season again than not.
Yeah.
And, that's not a bad thing. I think we'll cover that with the other team who has a new coach. It's not so much the wins-loss this season as it is how the team looks. They might have the same win-loss record, but I think you're going to see a more fired-up competitive team. And I think that's what Charlie Ragle brings. It's a rather average hire. They could have done worse. Like you said, I like that they took somebody with West Coast experience, but honestly, for them, has the outside the big sky eye on it. I know that's weird to say because if you look at the outside the big sky hires like Ed McCaffrey, they haven't hit. Chris Ball, where you look at the inside the big sky hires like Dan Hawkins and Troy Taylor, they did hit. So maybe there is something to be said about having some big sky experience. But let Charlie Ragle, I guess, be the measuring post for that.
Yeah.
So let's see how he does. I'm assuming he's got a probably 4-year deal.
Yeah,
he's going to need it. I mean, Idaho State should not expect a Sac State turnaround.
No,
where they went from last place to
0-8
first place.
to first.
Yeah.
No, but here's the deal where I also don't think it's fair to say the internal Big Sky hires of like a Dan Hawkins or a Troy Taylor, right? For one, Troy Taylor and his Big Sky experience, he came from one of the most established programs, right? Even though you're only there for a year, you kind of figure out why can this program continue to reload. And then Dan Hawkins, arguably one of the most successful coaches at the FCS level right now, total, right?
Yeah.
He's got experience. I mean, he's one of those programs who took Boise and ran with it, was extremely talented there. Yes, he failed at Colorado, but I mean, he learned his experience from Doug Peterson, probably not so much in the Big Sky.
Yeah. Yep, 100% agree. So let's move into the ins and outs of this roster. So they ended up having a couple transfers in, a couple transfers out. Now, I didn't actually look at anybody that went D2 or came up from D2. This is strictly basically D1. So they have an offensive lineman, Avery Demmons, coming from Ark State. Running back, Eric Collins, coming from Northern Illinois. Offensive lineman, Cyril Riley, coming from Wazoo. And running back, Demir Collins from Oregon State. Transfers out. You have Jaden Dawson who's going to Montana. You have another defensive back and Ty Metcalf going to Weber State. And you lost your punter, Kevin Ryan, to UW.
Okay.
So if you look at the out, if anything, talking about what Idaho State had on the roster, I mean, this team had 2 top half Big Sky teams in Montana and Weber State take their defensive backs. And Weber State has kind of been DBU past 5 or so seasons. And then you lose a punter to Washington. Like, it shows that there's talent on the roster, at least,
for sure.
Idaho State. And then you're able to bring in Eric Collins, or not, 2 Power 5 transfers in, an offensive lineman and a running back for Demir Collins. So, all in all, I'd say they hit the portal pretty perfect. They didn't lose a lot out, which is kind of rare in
coaching with a new coaching staff. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then, they brought in good players. I mean, we'll see. You can never judge somebody just by, the name next to their school. But they could have been walk-ons. But
for sure.
Either way, I mean, I think it's more to say you didn't lose too much out. And the people you did lose out, you can tell those are upgrades. Like, those weren't people that were just like, oh, I want to go somewhere where I can get a scholarship, or I don't like the coach. Transferring up to Montana, Weber, and UW those are transfers up.
Yeah.
So good news. So let's talk. Are there any impact players, and we'll avoid the quarterback conversation for a second, that you think are impact players on Idaho State's roster? Like, is there anybody that they should be glad they didn't lose?
I am going to say no on this one, right? They lost their best wide receiver. He was a stud. He's gone.
Yeah.
I don't. Did Idaho State, because I don't have this up in front of me, I'm pretty sure they didn't have one player on the All-American list for Big Sky Conference, all-conference team.
Nope.
They're one of the few programs that didn't have one, right? And since we're not going to mention the quarterbacks right now, I'm going to say as of right now, there's not a lot of super studs on the roster. I'll just say that. So to pick one individual player, I can't really do it. And I mean, that's going to sound really mean. Here, you try and look, because I think they have a DB who is actually pretty solid, though. Let me look up that DB.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to say, I mean, obviously the big one is Malachi Rango, right? The running back. He was stud. Running back super young now. I think it's mostly freshmen and sophomores. But they had that wide receiver, Xavier Gilroy, that kind of came on later in the season last year. So he's coming back, and he's young. He's only a sophomore. He had, I guess maybe he just played really good when I watched him. But, yeah, he had 20 receptions, 259 yards, and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, here's the guy I was trying to remember his name but couldn't. But did you say he's gone, Jaden Dawson?
Jaden Dawson is the guy who transferred to Montana.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense. Because Jaden Dawson, as a sophomore, true stud, right? He was really good at defending passes, pass deflection. So he was that one Idaho State player where I'm like, I know there was someone as a DB, but I couldn't remember what his name was. And then, right when I see the name, I'm like, he's the one who transferred. So, unfortunately, my guy that I wanted you to keep, Idaho State, that's an impact player, is gone.
He's gone.
So and this sounds brutal, but nothing. I mean, I think Rangle's a stud, but I also wouldn't put him as like among the elites.
No, he was a good change of pace solid. Back.
Yes.
You do not want to measure every down. Looking at the roster, though, real quick, I was trying to find him. I mean, just looking at like their skill positions, wide receiver, freshman, sophomore, freshman, sophomore, freshman, sophomore. Like,
right.
What we're saying, like in a couple of years, this team could be good if these guys hit. And then you're looking tight ends, mostly freshmen and sophomores, running backs, all freshmen, sophomores, 1 junior. So, I mean, this is a team that can grow together. Maybe they can have a bit of a Kennesaw State in them where it's a lot of young guys that kind of grow throughout 4 years. And then in year 3 or 4, Ragle, they're hitting at possibly a 6-7 game win clip because these guys have tons of experience and are junior seniors. So.
Well, have you seen some of the linemen that they picked up? Let me read off these because this is what should scare people. And it could be for the better or worse. But here is some of their linemen. Okay. He's a freshman. He's 6'3", 344 from Bonnie Lake, Washington. Another guy, 6'8", 330 sophomore. Another guy, 6'4", 324 freshman. A D-line, 6'4", 324. Another O-line junior, 6'6", 321. Another one, 6'7", 320.
Dude,
their line is going to be the biggest, not just in the Big Sky, but among the biggest in the nation, NFL and college.
Seriously. They have a bunch of 300-plus pounders. Yeah, I'm looking at this.
They're not just the short, fat guys. They're 6'8", 6'7", 6'6".
I mean, some of them are, but they'll be great centers. Yeah. And then, like, you have guys like this guy, Jack O'Connor. He's 6'6", 260, but he's a freshman from Pleasant Grove High School, which it's a decent California school. Man, he hits a weight room, red shirts. Yeah. He could easily be 290 by next season as a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You got 6'3", 250, Jaden Garcia from Hawaii, 6'7", 320, Jacob Angel.
And their D-line is 300 average.
6'8", 330. And he is from Ogden. Yeah. How did Weber State let that guy go?
I don't know, but their whole D-line is an average of about 300 pounds.
Their D-line?
Like, their D-line is massive. So you got 6 foot, 300, 6'2", 302.
They're huge. 6'2", 306.
This is going to be the thing where maybe Charlie's got something, in place where he's not looking at going, guess what? We're going to be dominant because he needs to build the skill players up. But right now, if he can put actual weight, maybe not weight in terms of gaining more mass, but in terms of just muscle weight, maybe lose some of the fat from some of the younger guys. And maybe they're not fat, right? Just reading off numbers, normally freshmen that are
Just
that
make it
big,
more athletic.
it's a little bit fluffy around the edges. So if some of these linemen, what's crazy is he can afford to have some of these offensive young linemen lose 20 pounds and still be among the largest in the Big Sky. So this is something to look out for in the next future years. Idaho State is not just going to have the biggest line in the Big Sky. They are going to have one of the biggest lines in all of college football. And that is going to be extremely terrifying.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to figure out what kind of offense they might run. Mazzone spent their offensive coordinator, because that's the thing, Ragle is a special teams guy. He coached wide receivers at Arizona. He came from San Diego. So I don't know. If I was them, I'd be running like a one back. I would get behind those hog mollies.
Yeah.
And push. But wow, talk about when we dive into a roster. Imagine what we'll do when we actually research. But
right,
just scrolling through that is insane. I don't think we'll see, like you said, those kinds of numbers the rest of the time we're previewing it. I think Idaho might have 2 300-pounders, and even that they're probably like 6'5".
See, our average
Eastern
is
has a big line.
Yeah, we're a big line, but not Idaho.
But you average what, like 305,
306,
306? They're averaging like
320.
Yeah.
And I don't know who's going to be the full starters for the Idaho State offensive line. My guess is they're going to have a few smaller guys in there right now that are more ready. But just looking at the future, because again, you and I said this already, we're not looking for Charlie Ragle to rebuild instantly. This is going to be a few years. Let's see what he can bring in. Let's see the talent he can bring in. But he already has the backbone to absolutely murder the Big Sky and control the lines of scrimmage if they are as physical and strong as their weight shows. Because it's not just they got short, fat dudes. They are 6'8", 6'6", 6'7", and just thick. Like, that is terrifying.
Yeah, it's a team full of, and the more I'm looking through this, they're so young.
Yeah, super young roster.
Yeah, like
a lot
all
of freshmen,
over the board.
A lot of sophomores.
So, I mean, that is, like you said, that's scary. Guessing how the Big Sky works, I bet you the Big Sky probably has them in the bottom 2 again next year.
Yeah.
I think next year you could see this team take a leap to maybe like the 9 spot.
Well, and yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean,
not a huge leap, right? But I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They have 7 seniors.
Yeah. Well, they have also a very young tight end from Seattle, Preston. So Preston Hellwedge. So he appeared in 4 games last year, but he's 6'7", 250 as a sophomore. Like, he's going to get bigger. They have insane size outside of the wide receiver room. It seems like most of them are extremely small, but outside, well, they got a couple big guys too. Never mind. They are going to be a massive roster. So this is going to be fun to watch in the next few years. See what type of talent.
I doubt they probably only win 2 games this year. We'll get to their schedule here, I think, very shortly. But I think they'll get a lot of valuable experience this year. And like I said, I expect them to maybe be one of those dark horse teams next year when we're doing it. They won't push because they'll still be young. But they will not be the worst team of the Big Sky next season.
God,
but this season they very well could still be.
They maybe have 5 seniors when I'm looking through this, and not many
7
juniors. 7.
Yeah. So they're not really losing anybody. Yeah. So that's big. But let's hit the.
Cool.
We'll keep it on the roster here. We're gonna go through the off-season headlines here. Quarterback 1.
Right.
Who is going to be QB1 for the Idaho State Bengals? The first, obviously, is the former Wyoming transfer, Tyler Vanderwall. And then obviously you have Hunter Hayes as well, who took over the majority of the reps after Vanderwall got hurt. Kind of looked good enough that he didn't really relinquish the position. And here they are in, according to them, a non-hostile quarterback room competing this fall for the job. Is there anybody that kind of pulls ahead for you in this conversation, or do you think this is going to be one of those years where they just tinkle back and forth with the quarterbacks all season? And that's part of the thing that kills them.
Yeah, so from what I have heard outside, and of course we don't know, but it looks like Tyler Vanderwall is most likely going to be their QB1. It seems like he's gaining more momentum in the offseason over Hunter. Hunter was the guy last year, and it seems like there's still going to be a battle between those two. And maybe if they brought in someone else, but it seems like as of right now, Tyler Vanderwall has the upper edge, slightly better arm than Hunter, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's my guess is Tyler Vanderwall won the competition last year. Hunter only came in due to injury.
Right.
Hunter also has a lot more time to be on the roster in the future. I expect them to try to get him valuable reps where and when they can. But yeah, I mean, I think this is Vanderwall's team to lose. He's a Wyoming transfer. The only thing I think could be interesting is they do have a quarterback on the roster, Keegan Thompson,
right, from
Rigby, who I believe was the 5A Gatorade Player of the Year here in the state of Idaho. Okay. Big get for them. Big guy. Yeah, 6'5", 204 as a freshman. Expect him to redshirt this year. But I'm not sure this matters. Keegan Thompson could very well be QB1 next season for the Bengals. And you get a Ragle's guy. Hunter Hayes and Vanderwall are somebody else's dude. And honestly, both of them might transfer after the season if one of them doesn't win the job.
Right.
But yeah, I would lean towards Vanderwall in this scenario to probably be the starter. But I think this is one of those where they flip-flop back and forth all year because I don't think Idaho State is going to be, good.
Yeah.
And so I think they will flip-flop, and I could see each of them playing around 5 games this season.
Man, well, if they get that O-line ready and if Keegan Thompson by maybe next year is, D1 ready, that's going to be terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's they have a lot of pieces in place. But yeah, I would go Vanderwall as well as my predicted starter going into week 1, which is interesting because the Big Sky has real quick. How many returning starters do we have in the Big Sky
for quarterbacks?
Yeah, we have Tommy touchdown.
Probably about half.
I mean,
if you think about it.
Dunaway,
I mean, you got RJ Martinez, you got Dunaway, you got Tommy
McCaffrey.
touchdown, you got McCaffrey, and you have who was UC Davis's quarterback last year?
Hunter Rodriguez.
But he transferred.
Or he might graduated.
Yeah, and then you I would say Tyler Vanderwall is a returner. Say what
That's
it
true.
is.
That's true.
And then Idaho may have a returner.
Yeah, well, Beaudry was our starter. Yeah, I'm pulling for CJ Jordan, but we'll see. We'll cover Idaho. We will obviously be covering Idaho and quarterbacks as well. Second headline: DaVonte Neal, their defensive backs coach, was arrested this offseason. Shortly after getting the job, I believe he was arrested June 2nd, actually. So it felt like it was longer ago, but that's just how this stuff works. He's being investigated or whatever you say where he's not guilty yet for murder.
Yeah.
In Maricopa County down in Arizona, which Maricopa is Phoenix, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Maricopa is right there in the Phoenix.
So that's interesting. And obviously I'm assuming DaVonte Neal had the relationship with Ragle from his Arizona days.
Right.
But
yeah, it was a shooting that happened or, a murder in 2017 from what I'm aware of.
Yeah, where it's like a cold case, right?
Yeah.
Which that has to be on a side note. One, I'm not saying we should feel any morality for people who do terrible things and then get caught. But can you imagine committing murder 5 years ago, over 5 years ago, and then all of a sudden you're in Pocatello, Idaho, of all places, and the cops knock on your door and you're a coach and you're probably like, oh, one of my players got in trouble. They're like, are you Coach DaVonte Neal? And they're like, yeah, who messed up? And they're like, you're under arrest. You're like, wait, what? Not saying, like I said, I feel bad for him, but at some point he probably thought he got away with it.
Right.
And no, he's behind bars now. I guess there's not much more to cover other than I guess 2 months ago they had to find a new defensive backs coach. So A sad situation, obviously, for everybody involved. But
and he is not related to me. Just saying, the Kyler Neals who create murder definitely get away with it. So
you're going to get knocked on the door. Back in 2012, do you remember? Shoot, you found me.
Well, I was in Maricopa County at the time.
Were you an accomplice?
I might have been. The family.
All right, the fun part, and probably what even Idaho State is rooting for here. We're going to run through their wins, losses, and come out with overall records for them. This one's going to be a real fun one. I can already tell. They actually kick off when people watch this week, week 0.
Yeah. They're
playing a former opponent of yours. They're at UNLV playing in the new Raiders Stadium. Kyler, I'm a start. Well, I guess I'm first on this list, so I guess I'm starting. I'm going to give them an L week 1 against UNLV. Speaking of UNLV, I expect to get a little bit better. It's third year of Arajo, their head coach. And if Eastern at peak Eastern, not peak Eastern, but pretty still damn good Eastern, took overtime to beat them, even though you guys played, you almost tried to let UNLV win that game. So it felt like. I just don't think you guys in Idaho State are anywhere close in talent. So unless UNLV comes out and just absolutely lays an egg, I don't think there's any way that the Bengals beat them.
Yeah, I mean, UNLV, when we played them, like you said, we were trying to get rid of the W, right? We missed, what was it, 3 kicks. We fumbled. We were playing horrible. But when we were matched up against them, we were bigger, stronger, faster, more athletic. The only, dude that they had on UNLV's team was that running back who was an absolute beast, but I think he declared for the NFL. He was younger. I don't remember. But if he's on the team, Idaho State's probably going to have a little bit of trouble, especially because if you watched UNLV last year, they played a lot of competitive games versus some of the top tier of the Mountain West. Now, they were dog crap and they were bad, but they were competitive in most of the games outside of San Diego State. Everyone else, they were at least in there, could have won it at the end, could have lost it. They lost most of them. Where Idaho State, they were on the other spectrum, but at the FCS level. So I actually do think it's probably going to be a little bit more competitive than what some people are imagining when you see a 1-10 Idaho State come in to any bad FBS team. But by competitive, I still probably mean going to lose by 17. So, yeah, I think it's an L. I'd favor UNLV, but I think Idaho State's going to look really promising in facets of the game.
Yeah, I was actually curious here real quick. I was like, okay, this is a week 1 game, so there should be a spread available. I was curious. I think another interesting thing to think about here is one of the top podcasts, college football podcasts in the country, the Split Zone Duo. Actually, they do an FCS over FBS upset episode every year.
Mm-hmm.
One of them picked Idaho State. He did explain that he more looked at who UNLV was playing and just picked their opponent. But I think it just goes to show also that anything can happen for the first week of the season.
Yeah.
Like Eastern can play like dog, almost give it away, but still pull it out.
Well, and Howard just shattered UNLV not too long ago. UNLV has a history
biggest
of getting
upset ever,
shellacked.
right?
Yeah. So they have a history of getting shellacked against the FCS, and they just probably need to stop scheduling. So I'm rooting for Idaho State. Let's go Bengals.
Yeah, right. In week 0, I mean, I feel like the whole Big Sky is probably going to be behind Idaho State.
And they have
0,
and they have no film over Charlie Ragle.
No, you're right. Actually,
no film.
All right,
that could be.
Let's have some fun here with the Bengals fans. Maybe we'll do this for all our FBS games. Percentage of an upset possibility. I'll give them a 10. I'll give them a 1 in 10 chance they can rock out the upset.
You know what? I'm a little more optimistic. I'm going to give them a 21% chance.
And didn't they just beat Nevada under Fennessy not too long ago? Damn. You're really working me up. All right. I won't go full. I'll meet you halfway.
Well, you're going to see the line disparity. Idaho State's going to have a bigger line than UNLV.
I'm actually so interesting to see that. That is instant content.
Welcome.
We're going to have to remember that.
Yeah.
Screenshot that first thing where it's their D-line versus Idaho State's offensive line, and you're like, holy crap, tell me.
Unless they just redshirt all the young players, right?
True. But this is a game where you could play them because they get 4 games.
That's true. Yeah, you were going to see. We're going to
because
see.
that's a great way to recruit them, right? Like, oh, you get to play
Yeah.
because like if you're trying to show for next year's recruiting class, right? You're like, look, our freshmen all played in the Raiders stadium. That's a huge recruiting selling point.
Huge.
Especially if you're trying to go down to like Nevada or Arizona, where Vegas is kind of the hub down there.
Yeah, 21% chance to win.
Yeah, I'll go 15.
There you go. I'm bringing Chris to the limelight.
You did sell me on that hard. And then they get a week off on week 1. Then they're at San Diego State week 2.
So this is my goal. That is a loss. That is a no chance. San Diego State is so good. You know, this is not San Jose State. This is San Diego State. Yeah, I'm sorry. The O-line is not going to be able to recover the size disparity. San Diego State is just extremely talented.
I 100% agree. San Diego State is still one of the top teams in the Mountain West, even though they lost a lot of pieces. They will also, real quick, while I look this up, what are the odds that Idaho State can pull this one off?
0.006.
I'll give them a 0.05, 0.5. I'll give them a 0.5%. No, I don't want San Diego. I want San Diego State. I'm just thinking. So San Diego State had to play all of last year in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
This year, their Snapdragon Stadium should be done.
Yeah.
They are. I was like, if this is Idaho State opening up that new stadium,
that'd be cool.
They're toast.
Yeah.
But guess who gets to open it up? Arizona.
Oh, solid. So Arizona's going to lose too.
They're going to get their butt whooped by San Diego State and then NDSU later in the season. Oh, man, the Wildcats, man. They've fallen from grace. They were just playing Pac-12 title games not too long ago.
Once Charlie left them.
Yeah.
They're going downhill. Maybe Charlie is the key.
That might be it.
We're believing in you, Idaho State.
Yeah, we've got a little, Idaho State
We're flipping the edge.
Yeah, holy shit. I just watched a squirrel on the tree outside run down a branch. Looked like it was jump at me. Barely grabbed the end of my roof and then crawled up.
Solid content.
I thought I was about to have a squirrel window, but side note. Next we've got they have the first home game of the season in week 3. Long time to go without a home game, and they host Central Arkansas. So an out-of-conference game against the ASUN member, the Central Arkansas Bears, a team that also had kind of a bad season last year.
Right.
That said, I think they were a really good team that had a bad season. They should be able to handle Idaho State in Pocatello.
I mean, they got obliterated by newcomer Tarleton State. They were 5-6. They got. Man.
If this was next year, maybe, which I wonder if it's a home and home. They might be Bengals.
I think it is a home and home
next year.
I think it's a home and home.
Ooh, watch out Bears for the Bengals on the stripes next year. But this year, I'm taking the Bears.
Yeah, I'll go UCA as well. But just looking how they ended last season, they kind of ended on a downward spiral. Sure, they got Texas Wesleyan University as the third last game, but then they lost to Stephen F. Austin. Then they got just smoked by Tarleton. Yeah, I do think it's going to be hard to beat UCA with Idaho State's current talent. I'll just say that.
Here's an interesting one, because if they're going to get a win, they are literally on the road for the first 5 weeks of the season, essentially, for them, or have one home game in the first 5 weeks. Northern Colorado, they're in the no longer long grass of Greeley, the turf field of Greeley, Colorado. This is a big one for them.
Yeah.
Because this is a gettable game.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Let me pull up some things. I'm looking. They didn't play last year, did they?
I'm not sure.
I'm looking. No, they did not play last year. Man, that would have been a great one to figure it out. You know what? I'm leaning towards Idaho State upsets if it's an upset. I don't even know if it's an upset. It's in Greeley, though.
It is in Greeley.
No, I'm going to go with the Bears. I'm going to go.
The Bears, the week prior, playing at Lamar.
Lamar stinks.
You think maybe a little travel hangover though, where Idaho State's coming off on the road? Yeah, you know
No.
what?
I'm going with the Bears.
I'm sorry, Idaho State. You know what? No. I'll take Idaho State in this game.
There you go.
I forget that, like, Northern Colorado is a train wreck at the moment.
They're a train wreck, but they hit the transfer portal pretty well.
They had to because they also lost it pretty well.
But that might not be a bad thing, right?
I think maybe this is where Idaho, like, maybe they have Northern. We haven't gotten their schedule yet, but maybe they have like a really good out of conference schedule, and this is where Idaho State's like, oh, okay, let's go. Yeah. We're in conference play. People are kind of like, oh, is Idaho State going to be a little frisky this year? Right. Especially if they do beat UNLV. If they beat UNLV, they'll probably have the confidence to beat Northern Colorado.
Yeah, man, and they almost beat Sac State last year too, and they lost to Cal Poly though. Ugh.
They were definition.
I'm going with Greeley. I'm going Greeley gets his first win on the home field.
So, the new turf. All right. The following week they host Montana, week 5.
Oh, big win for Montana.
Yeah, I was like, I'll take the L for them. Unfortunately, man, you have them at 0-5 headed into week 6. Woo! Week 6 they're at Montana State. L
0-6.
Although Montana State does like to keep it dangerously close with teams that are worse or better than. Cal Poly at home.
Win.
You're going to give them a win? I'm going to give them a loss here.
It was a close game last year. I know I believe in Bo Baldwin. I think Cal Poly's going to be way better. But I don't think Idaho State's going to start 0-8. And I just had them start 0-7 or 0-6. So 0-6. We're giving them a win. Screw you, Bo.
All right. We both have them at 1-6 at the moment. I had their win over Northern Colorado. You have their win in week 7 against Cal Poly.
There we go. Ragle's finding his rhythm.
Ooh, can they get a streak going in Kyler Neal's book? Week 8, they are hosting Northern Arizona.
Oh, yeah. I think they're going to go on a rhythm. They are going to beat Northern Arizona, get their second win of the season. Charlie is finding himself. He's finding his team. That line is not slowing down. He's getting them in shape. They're getting a win.
All right. Kyler's got him with a win. I am going to say, wow, this is episode 1. These probably won't stand up as we move through. Like, we might get to the NAAU episode, and when we're high on NAU, they'll smoke Idaho State. So keep that in mind. Like, if you listen to the NAU episode, you're like, you guys picked us to lose to ISU. Why'd you? Yeah.
Kyler said they would lose to Northern Colorado. Now he's saying Northern Colorado's going to lose to everyone?
This is on the moment, and we are not cross-referencing our picks back to what we previously picked. They will change with every team unless we really feel a certain way, you know.
Yeah.
I actually agree with you here. I think Ragle will have a way to make this one more personal, being like an Arizona guy. Right. I think it might be just enough to be able to beat Northern Arizona. And if I'm looking at Northern Arizona, they would have just been returning from a game at UC Davis. So, you know, they might be a little beat up at the time. They'll have a heavyweight match before this, where Idaho State will be coming off Cal Poly. Mm-hmm. So, and you give them a win streak here. I also give them a win. They have a bye week. They'll beat the bye. Week 10, they are then at UC Davis, and I know they won last year, but that was at home. They ain't winning in Davis, California.
They are having another streak. They're finding their rhythm. They're not beat. They're not beat Dan Hawkins twice. So Dan Hawkins is going to get the W this one. But hey, it was competitive for 3.5 quarters.
Weber State at Weber State the following week. I don't think this rivalry game is like really ever close, except the weird 2020 season. So I'm going to give Weber State the win here.
Weber State tends to hiccup once, right?
True.
We don't know when because their schedule's pretty brutal. This is one of the few easy games they have on paper, right? Maybe Idaho State's not easy at all when we get down to it, but on paper, preseason, this is one of the only easy games Weber State has besides their D2 game. They're not losing Idaho State. You're not going to win in Ogden, Idaho State, but maybe in a few years you'll bring that rivalry to fruition.
Right. Then they have the Battle of the Domes against the University of Idaho. I will get my pick out of the way here. Trying to take biases out of it. It is at home. Idaho, the home team had dominated this rivalry game until last year when Idaho won in the Dome with basically the coaches are fired bowl. I just think Eck has more pieces now. I think that Idaho will get the win here. I'm trying to be as unbiased as possible. You tell me, is that a good assessment, or do you think the Bengals are going to win?
I think the Bengals win this one.
I don't argue with it because I do think it's closer than what most people might look when they're on the schedule.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Idaho State's going to really get up for this game. Looking at their schedule, this is probably the game they're most excited for.
That's true.
I'm just going to go give them a win because I think they get about 3 wins this season.
Kyler puts the Idaho State Bengals with a finishing record of 3-8. I myself, Chris, am giving them a record of 2-9. So both of us see an improvement over last season where they went 1-10. So
there you go.
Win, and Kyler actually has 3 of their wins in conference. So they will probably be 10th, 9th.
Yeah, they're still going to be the bottom 3, right?
With 3 wins, they might not be.
Well, I think they'll be tied. A few may be above them, but have an out-of-conference win. But, I mean, and of course, this is all just off the top of my head, but after doing a more depth in dive of the roster, I'm actually a little more intimidated by them. Not like that I think that they're more talented or they're going to be a top-tier Big Sky team, but I don't think they're going to be the walkover like we're all imagining Idaho. They can give some problems.
They could be that team where if you aren't ready for them or you're looking to overlook them, they could make a game competitive for half to 3 quarters.
That size is just too insane.
Yeah, and it'll beat you down.
Now watch, everyone's really 5'11", 185 pounds, and Ragle is a liar.
They were all wearing cleats, sweatshirts, and comforters drenched in water.
Yep.
But there you go. Clip this episode. There we go. We have the Idaho State Bengals finishing 2-9 and 3-8 respectively. Any takeaways on Idaho State before we wrap up our very first preview episode?
Nope. I'm just really excited to see what they can accomplish, right? A few years ago, they changed their logo. Now they're changing Holt Arena. This isn't Jared Allen University only. It seems like they're building momentum for the future. Maybe it turns into Idaho State University instead of Jared Allen University. So this will be exciting. I always want to see a team that's been overly horrible, like continue to expand and live up to the potential of the conference, right? I don't want the conference to have a bunch of bottom dwellers and a few really top teams. Makes it a little lopsided. So I'm hoping that Idaho State can use this momentum, use their size, use their administrative team who's actually upgrading facilities logos to try and make Pocatello a more desirable place to play football. So, hopefully they can be pretty successful moving forward because it's never bad to have a true state university as one of a top-tier programs in the conference.
And it's a program that people forget this team has a national title.
Yeah.
It's a program that if it gets rolling, if this facility makes them competitive in terms of recruiting and what they're able to offer athletes, like I don't like using the term sleeping giant because really any program has something that makes them a sleeping giant.
Right.
But they are a program that I'll say has more potential than some others.
And they're near Boise. They're near Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
They're in a little location.
People always talk about this when the Big Sky basketball tournament comes up where they're like, oh, it's basically a home game for Idaho. I'm like, do you guys know that Weber State and Idaho State are closer to Boise than Moscow?
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't think people realize that. It's like, yeah, Pocatello technically should have the recruiting market of Boise over Idaho, but they don't. But they could in the future. Yeah. And this is, like I said, this is a program that I'm not going to single out any particular teams, but like there are teams currently in the Big Sky and formerly in the Big Sky that didn't have the upward mobility that a team like Idaho State has. Mm-hmm. They're a state institution. Yeah. If they start winning, money will flow their way.
I think so.
Yeah. Anyways, we're ready to roar with you, Pocatello. So good luck this 2022 football season. We'll catch you guys in the next preview.
Rawr.
Rawr.